What could it be? The first part of her reply was definitely what he would have expected from reading one of her books, but what was this about another possibility? She made it sound like there was another direction this could go, so Reiji prodded her for more details without pause. Is there something else? In one of the books I read, the hero was summoned somewhere else. And if we were following a plotline like that, that would mean we're in the Demon Lord's palace right now. You mean starting right at the climax? Yeah, the last dungeon. Ugh. Isn't that a bit much, honestly? Suimai let out a disheartened groan. In the majority of novels like this, after being summoned, the hero must face several trials, twists, and turns before defeating the Demon Lord at the end of the story. But what Mizuki was suggesting meant that they'd be starting from there, right at the climax, the final boss. That thought didn't thrill Suimai. It meant they'd be in serious danger, and this wasn't exactly where he wanted to spend his last breath. Reiji, on the other hand, began questioning Mizuki in a calm tone. If memory serves, that's the kind of story where they defeat the Demon Lord right away, then return to live in the new world as heroes, right? Yup. Then they either challenge the next powerful enemy, or end up getting involved in a war between countries though. Okay, but the situation that we're in right now. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something similar to what Reiji-kun was thinking. Oh my god. Mizuki's assessment left Suimai quite dejected. His discontentment left his lips as a pained sigh. This sounded more and more like it was going to be a huge pain. If what Mizuki was suggesting was true, it would only be inevitable that he'd get dragged into it. And since Suimai had other plans, this would end up being a major speed bump for him. Anything's possible. I guess we'll see, huh? And the moment Mizuki said that, Suimai could hear something, using his ears that were enhanced with magicka, coming from outside the room, erasing his presence, keeping alert, and killing any excess noise. Suimai called out to the others. You guys. Huh? Yeah, I know. Oh? Is that also a result of your strengthening? I think so, but if so, how are you able to hear it, Suimai? My ears have always been good. Actually, this isn't the time for that. Suimai brushed off the question with a light joke. He and Reiji were on the same page now, but Mizuki had yet to grasp the situation. Huh? Mizuki, someone's approaching right now. Quite a few people, actually. Reiji recognized the distinct sound of many footsteps approaching. It seemed that the strengthening effect didn't just make him physically stronger. And once he gave Mizuki the short of it, Reiji positioned himself in front of her with the intention of protecting her while he focused on the passage that lay beyond the door. Mizuki shrank back in anxiety, and Suimai also put himself on guard next to Reiji. Now then, just what is going to pop out? Hopefully it's someone important from this world rather than the bad guys. Are you kidding, Reiji? Hopefully it's our classmates with a sign that says surprise. Reiji didn't respond to Suimai's all-too-optimistic humor. Was it because the footsteps were drawing ever nearer? Or was it because he was hoping for something other than that? Maybe Reiji honestly believed the best-case scenario would be if someone important walked through that door. Suimai had no way of knowing what he was really thinking, but now that the footsteps were just on the other side of the door, it would only be a matter of seconds before they saw who it really was. Suimai cast a fleeting glance to his side. He could see Reiji lower his stance, ready to spring into action at any time, and Mizuki stepping back so that she wouldn't get in his way. As for Suimai, rather than stiffening up at the prospect of danger, his heart was pounding at the thrill of the unknown. He was in his element right now, and that was his natural curiosity as a magician at work. Suppressing his excitement, he quietly inspected the belongings he had with him. He'd been brought here completely unprepared, so he had nothing other than what he usually carried on his person. I have my bag, inside of which is a chain accessory, a vial of mercury, cards, my suit, the gloves of discord, and a little of the Yakagi secret medicine. Frankly, I'm a little unsure about whipping any of that out, but if something happened, he wouldn't have a choice. Because Reiji and Mizuki were used to peaceful everyday life in Japan, Suimai was the only one with combat experience among the three of them. He'd had his fair share of run-ins in the underworld. He certainly wanted to keep that and his powers a secret from his friends, but if that came at the cost of their lives, he wouldn't hesitate to reveal himself. Even in the worst case, though he would feel guilty about it, there was the option of manipulating their memories. The three of them each tensed up as the footsteps came to a complete stop. The brief moment after that seemed to last forever. But eventually, the door finally opened with the sound of something heavy being dragged across the ground. Reiji immediately readied himself. TCH. Mea firma aegis. My solid shield. With that, Suimai put his defensive magicka on standby. It wasn't out of the question that whoever it was would suddenly attack upon seeing them. Better safe than sorry, after all. What appeared in the doorway was a group of armored men who didn't look particularly friendly. From what Suimai could see, however, they looked to be human. They didn't appear to be monsters, demons, or other evil beings, so that much was a relief, at least. The armored group then stood along the wall, forming orderly ranks while facing the three friends vigilantly. Just what was going to happen? Suimai kept his magicka at the ready, but the wall of armored men parted. A young woman with blue hair wearing a pink dress, and a second girl with silver hair wearing a white robe the color of a polished pearl then appeared. Huh? Both girls tilted their heads to the side in unison, looking as though something completely unexpected were unfolding right in front of them. Then the girl with the blue hair leaned in and began quietly whispering to the other one. White Flame Dono, was there not supposed to be a single summoned hero? No, it is just as you say. Yet there are 3 people present here. Aye, indeed there are. About that, this is merely conjecture on my part, but let's just assume one of these 3 is, in fact, the hero. I would imagine then that the other 2 simply got caught up in the hero summoning. But how could that be? I've never seen records of such a thing happening. I've never even heard of it. Neither have I, Your Highness. Yet even so, here 3 people stand before us, so. The probability is rather high, you mean. They were talking privately to one another, but Suimai could overhear them thanks to his enhanced hearing. He expected Reiji could hear them as well, but wasn't sure he could understand what they were saying. What they were speaking, after all, wasn't Japanese, or any other language from Earth, for that matter. It was a strangely rhythmic language. And even though he didn't know what it was, Suimai could still decipher it. Figuratively speaking, it was like the words were being rearranged in his head into a language he knew well, or something to that effect. Since it was considerably intuitive to him, it was difficult to explain in words. The reason for it was likely because of the kind of spell that was cast on them when they were summoned. It was only a theory of Suimai's, but he didn't have much else to go on. The reason why didn't matter all that much right now. More importantly, it was convenient. And then, judging that there was no longer any need to remain on guard after hearing the words hero and summoning from their conversation, Suimai discreetly cancelled his magicka. Reiji also seemed to relax as he came out of his stance. Suimai then turned to Mizuki. Hey, Mizuki, it seems this was a bit of a surprise for them too. Is this kind of development normal? Well, yes. There are stories where the friends of the summoned hero are caught up in things too, but... Mizuki suddenly looked troubled, like it was hard to explain further. Suimai was left hanging. Just what was it she was afraid to say? Mizuki, are you worried about something? In this kind of scenario, one of the hero's friends, in our case, that would be one of us, usually forms a pact with an evil god and becomes the antagonist. What the hell? Seriously? Now an evil god's going to show up for no reason? Why? I'm not really sure myself. Mizuki trembled with anxiety. Frankly speaking, Suimai wanted to do the same thing. No, he just wanted to run away. He just couldn't get his head around why something as extreme as an evil god would suddenly show up. He might have been able to understand if it was just an avatar or some other manifestation of its power, but actually summoning an evil god would cause deaths in the thousands. Even if the summoned hero somehow managed to scrape by on bare luck, they would have a dangerous incarnation of evil eyeing them forever after that. And people rarely ever got that lucky twice. Without some sort of intervention, it seemed the hero would still meet an unfortunate end eventually, and that wasn't what Suimai wanted. Thinking about it sent a chill down his spine. While lost in his own thoughts, Reiji continued questioning Mizuki. The antagonist? Why would one of you end up fighting with me? In this scenario, either me or Suimai-kun would come to oppose your way of thinking, Reiji-kun, and end up making a pact with the evil god as a way to fight against you. What? Reiji went visibly pale upon hearing Mizuki's explanation. He was dumbfounded. Seeing his response, Mizuki desperately tried to backpedal. But I would never do that, Reiji-kun. I don't hate you. ILLLLO. She must have been too embarrassed to say it directly to his face. Her voice steadily trailed off until it was completely inaudible. Reiji then awkwardly turned his head towards Suimai. Then. It's you, Suimai? To be honest, I've always secretly thought you were a real bottom-feeding braggart who should just drop dead. A dark passion could be seen filling Suimai's eyes as he spoke, and Reiji was left at a loss for words. I'm kidding. Suimai. I really am kidding. If I hated you, why would I have gone out of my way to keep your company for the last 6 years? Just think about it. That's right. Thank God. Hearing that Suimai and Mizuki were on his side, Reiji now let out a sigh of relief. And while the three of them were having that exchange, the blue-haired girl called out to them with the dignity of a graceful princess. Excuse me. I apologize for the interruption, but would you mind speaking with us? Oh, of course. Reiji politely agreed, and the young woman with blue hair and a prominent forehead gave a graceful bow before introducing herself. I must truly apologize for calling you forth so abruptly. I am the second child of His Majesty King Almadius Root Astal, King of the Kingdom of Astal. My name is Titania Root Astal, and here with me is the one who strove to bring you here on this occasion. As if to show she had someone else to introduce, the girl with the large forehead, Princess Titania, lightly turned to the side. The robed girl